I destroyed my sister's marriage over a plate of cold lasagna, and honestly, I would do it again. I would do it 1,000 times if it meant saving her from him. You guys always ask me why I have trust issues. This is why. Let me set the scene. My sister, let's call her Sarah, is the good one. You know the type. Sweet, trusting, never missed a Sunday service, believes the best in everyone. She married Mark 3 years ago. Mark was perfect, too perfect. He drove a luxury SUV, wore tailored suits, and claimed to be a high-level consultant for tech startups. They bought a massive house in a gated community. But something about Mark always made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It wasn't anything he did initially. It was what he didn't do. His eyes never smiled when his mouth did. He was like a shark in a suit, but Sarah was happy, so I kept my mouth shut. I played the supportive sibling. The cracks started showing about 3 months ago. I was over at their place for a movie night. Sarah was in the kitchen making popcorn, and Mark had left his phone on the coffee table face up. Now, I'm not a snoop usually, but a notification popped up. It wasn't a text. It was a banking alert. It flashed for 2 seconds. Insufficient funds. Transaction declined at 7-Eleven. I frowned. A guy who drives a 6-figure car getting declined for a slushie. Weird. But maybe he just transferred money to the wrong account. I ignored it. 30 minutes later, Mark comes back into the room looking stressed. He's sweating. He tells Sarah, "Babe, I have to go into the city. Emergency meeting with the investors from Tokyo." It was 9 p.m. on a Friday. Sarah, being Sarah, just nodded. "Okay, honey, don't work too hard." She kissed him, and he practically ran out the door. That's when the gut feeling hit me. The something is wrong feeling. I waited until Sarah was distracted by the movie, and I went to the window. I watched Mark get into his car. He didn't turn toward the highway that leads to the city. He turned left, toward the old industrial park. I made up an excuse, told Sarah I had a headache, and I left. But I didn't go home. I followed him. I know, I sound crazy. But you have to understand, my sister is soft. She breaks easily. I'm the armor. I followed his taillights for 20 minutes until he pulled into the parking lot of a rundown motel. The kind of place you pay for by the hour. My heart dropped. I thought, okay, he's cheating. Scumbag. I pulled out my phone to take a picture of his car, ready to catch him with another woman. But a woman didn't come out. 2 guys came out of room 104. They looked rough, hoodies up, hands in pockets. Mark got out of his car and his whole demeanor changed. The confident tech consultant was gone. He looked terrified. He was pleading with them. I rolled my window down just a crack. I heard one of the guys say, "You're out of time, Mark. The house is next." Mark handed them an envelope. It looked thick. They took it, shoved him against the car, not hard enough to leave a mark but hard enough to send a message, and went back inside. Mark stood there for a minute, shaking. Then he got back in his car and drove off. I sat there in the dark, my hands gripping the steering wheel. He wasn't just cheating. This was something worse. He was in trouble. And if the house is next, that meant he was dragging my sister down with him. I knew I needed hard proof, concrete evidence. Because if I went to Sarah with just a story about a motel parking lot, Mark would talk his way out of it. He was a master manipulator. He'd say I was jealous or crazy or seeing things. So I decided to play the long game. I needed access to his office. The opportunity to get into Mark's office came 2 weeks later. Sarah called me, panicked. She said Mark was on a business trip in Dubai, but the security alarm at their house was acting up and she was scared to be alone. She asked if I could come stay for the weekend. Jackpot. I arrived with my overnight bag and a plan. I spent Friday night comforting Sarah. She was anxious. She kept saying, "Mark has been so distant lately. He says work is stressful, but he snaps at me over everything. He yelled at me yesterday for buying organic groceries, said we need to watch the budget because of market volatility." Mark yelling about groceries. The man who bought a boat he never uses. I waited until Sarah took her sleeping meds and passed out around midnight. The house was silent. I crept down the hallway to Mark's home office. Locked, of course. But I knew where Sarah kept the spare keys. In the fake plant by the foyer. I grabbed the key, my hands shaking. I felt like a criminal in my sister's house, but I kept hearing that guy's voice in my head. The house is next. I unlocked the door and slipped inside. I didn't turn on the big light. I used the flashlight on my phone. The office was a mess. Papers everywhere. Unopened mail piled up on the desk. This wasn't the workspace of a high-powered, organized consultant. This was the workspace of a man drowning. I started digging. First, I found the bank statements. He had intercepted the mail so Sarah wouldn't see them. The joint savings account, the one Sarah put her inheritance into, gone. Balance, $4.12. There were withdrawals of $5,000, $10,000, $8,000, all at casinos or cash advances. But that wasn't the worst part. I found a letter from the bank, a foreclosure notice. They hadn't paid the mortgage in 6 months. My stomach turned over. Sarah loved this house. She had picked out every paint color. She thought they owned half of it by now. In reality, they were 30 days away from being on the street. I kept digging. I needed to know why. Was it just gambling? I found a second phone in the bottom drawer. It was dead, so I plugged it into my portable charger and waited. When it booted up, there was no passcode. I opened the messages. It wasn't just gambling. It was a whole fake life. Text to a woman named Jessica. Mark, just hold on, baby. I'm liquidating the assets. Once I sell the house out from under her, I'll have enough to pay off the debts and we can move to Costa Rica. Jessica, you said that 2 months ago. Leave her already. Mark, I can't just leave yet. Her name is on the deed. I need her to sign the power of attorney so I can sell it without her knowing. I'm working on it. She trusts me. I felt like I was going to be sick. He wasn't just losing money. He was planning to steal the house, sell it, take the remaining equity, and run off with his mistress, leaving my sister homeless and bankrupt. He was going to try to get her to sign a power of attorney, probably tell her it was for tax purposes or investment restructuring. And because she loved him, she would sign it. I took photos of everything. The bank statements, the foreclosure notice, the texts, the empty savings account. I put everything back exactly how I found it. I locked the door. I put the key back in the plant. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in the guest bed staring at the ceiling, feeling a rage so hot it almost scared me. The next morning, Mark came home early. Surprise! He yelled, walking through the door with flowers. He looked tired, ragged. Sarah ran to hug him. Oh, honey, you're back. He hugged her, but his eyes scanned the room. He saw me. He smiled, that cold, shark smile. Hey, thanks for keeping her company. Anytime, Mark, I said. I forced a smile back. How was Dubai? He didn't blink. Hot, exhausting, but the deal is closed. That's great, I said, gripping my coffee mug so hard I thought it would shatter. We should celebrate. Why don't we have a big family dinner tomorrow? Mom and Dad are in town. Mark hesitated. He hates my parents. Tomorrow, I'm pretty jet-lagged. Oh, come on, I pressed. Sarah was just saying how much she misses everyone, and we want to hear all about your success. He looked at Sarah's hopeful face. He couldn't say no without looking like a jerk. Fine, he said. Dinner tomorrow. I walked out of that house with my phone full of evidence burning a hole in my pocket. The clock was ticking. I had 24 hours to prepare the execution. Dinner was at my parents' house. Roast beef, red wine, and a table full of lies. Mark was in rare form. He was charming my mother, talking about crypto markets and international expansion. Sarah sat next to him, beaming, looking at him like he hung the moon. It broke my heart because I knew I was about to break hers. I waited until dessert. My dad was pouring coffee. Actually, Mark said, tapping his glass with a spoon, I have a little announcement. Everyone quieted down. Mark reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a document. My heart hammered against my ribs. This is it. Sarah and I have been talking about our future, Mark said, putting a hand on her shoulder. And I've found an incredible investment opportunity. It requires moving some assets around just temporarily, but it will set us up for life. He slid the paper toward Sarah. I just need you to sign this authorization, babe. It just lets me handle the boring legal stuff for the house so you don't have to worry. It was the power of attorney. He was doing it right here, in front of everyone, so she would feel pressured to sign. Sarah picked up the pen. Oh, wow, okay. If you think it's best, Mark. I think it's best we look at the bank statements first, I said. My voice was calm but loud. Mark's head snapped toward me. Excuse me. I didn't look at him. I looked at my sister. Sarah put the pen down. What? Why? Sarah laughed nervously. I pulled out a manila envelope I'd brought with me. I tossed it onto the center of the table. It landed with a heavy thud, right on top of the roast beef platter. Mark isn't a consultant, I said, staring him down. He's unemployed. He has been for 6 months. That's ridiculous, Mark scoffed, standing up. She's jealous, Sarah. Don't listen to her. The savings account is empty, I continued, ignoring him. $400,000 gone. That's a lie, Mark shouted. His face was turning red. Sarah signed the paper. And that document, I pointed at the paper under Sarah's hand, that gives him the right to sell your house, which he has to do because it's in foreclosure. The bank is taking it in 3 weeks. The room went dead silent. My mom gasped. Sarah looked at Mark. Mark, what is she talking about? She's crazy. Mark was sweating now. Baby, you know me, I love you. Show her the text to Jessica, I said. Mark froze. The color drained from his face. He looked like a ghost. I pulled out my phone and cast the photos to the living room TV. I had set it up earlier. Suddenly, on the 60-inch screen behind Mark were the screenshots. Mark, once I sell the house out from under her, we can move to Costa Rica. My dad stood up. He's a quiet man, but he's big. He walked around the table. Sarah read the screen. She read it twice. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just went very, very still. She looked at the paper. Then she looked at the pen. Mark, she whispered. It's out of context, Mark stammered, backing away. It's a joke. It's roleplay. Sarah stood up. She picked up the power of attorney document. She ripped it in half. Then she ripped it again. She threw the confetti in his face. Get out, she said. Sarah, please. Get out, she screamed. It was a sound I'd never heard her make. A primal, wounded animal sound. Mark looked at my dad, who was cracking his knuckles. He looked at me, smirking. He grabbed his keys and ran out the door. We heard his tires screeching down the driveway. The aftermath was messy. We found out later he owed money to loan sharks, the guys at the motel. When he couldn't sell the house, they took his car. Then they came for his knees. He's currently hiding out in another state, dodging lawsuits and debt collectors. Sarah lost the house. The bank took it. She lost her savings. She had to move back in with our parents. She's starting over from zero at 32. Sometimes, late at night, she cries. She asks how she could have been so blind. But yesterday, she smiled. A real smile. She said, at least I'm free. And that makes being the villain of Mark's story totally worth it. So ladies, if your gut tells you something is wrong, trust it. And check the trash folder on his phone. Don't forget to hit like and follow us.